Ah, welcome back! Lip has managed to snap Ruby back to her senses. So let's continue onward. Time to dive right in. The journey's only going to get harder from here. Time to start the second half of the initial 8-character battle layout. It's about this point that the AI starts to get a little sharper. As such, the matches are starting to last a little longer. We're in for quite a long one here. Greeting Lip at Stage 5's gate is Elias, the Fairy of Water. Elias is a romantic, her head consistently lost in thought as she dreams of love. She's something of an accomplished singer. Her singing is even capable of putting resident Kappas into a trance. In the GameCube version, she has a daughter named Cecile. As an aside, I kinda really dig Elias' theme. It's quite slow and relaxing compared to the other songs in the game. As the games went on and on throughout the series, more and more new modes were introduced to help tweak the gameplay experience to make it a little more fresh. Pokemon Puzzle League was first in this regard. Its main new introduction was the 3-dimensional mode. In 3-dimensional mode, the playfield is now one big cylinder. As such, there are many more blocks to be cleared now. However, a reasonably good player can adapt to all the blocks seen on screen. They can make some really lengthy chains and easily rack up some points. It's certainly much easier to get into 3D mode than 2D mode, if you ask me. Players of Pokemon Puzzle League will also note that 3-dimensional mode is absent in first player versus mode. To play a 3D match, you have to play it in 2-player versus mode. While they're fun to play with a friend, it's kind of wacky if you let a computer player take over on 3D mode. Set player to computer level to level 10 and test them out in 3D mode. You'll see what I mean. They act way more erratically than they do in 2D mode. The Mimic Mansion, while not necessarily a new feature, was a nice little extra area that helped alien players get better at the game. You basically choose what you want to practice, combos, chains, or skill chains. You then pick one example from a list. After watching the computer try to clear it, they hand over the control to you to see if you can do the same. This was a great, fun little mode, and I sure learned a lot from just playing around with it. Certainly helped improve my game. On the subject of Pokemon Puzzle League, this is an interesting little tidbit. It was actually supposed to be the Panel de Pon sequel game, but it ended up getting cancelled. So Nintendo just thought, instead of scrapping the game entirely, screw it, we'll just throw the Pokemon name on it, base it around the anime, and there you go. Obviously, the efforts didn't go totally to waste. The Panel de Pon sequel was eventually worked on again and brought to the GameCube, along with Dr. Mario 64, kick-ass game by the way, and Yoshi's Cookie to form Nintendo Puzzle Collection. Unfortunately, Nintendo Puzzle Collection was only released in Japan. International releases were planned, but for one reason or another, they ended up getting scrapped. Jeez, is this match gonna end anytime soon? They've been going back and forth for 3 minutes now! Ah, thank Jeebus. See what I mean about these matches getting long? As Lip tries to stay afloat, Yoshi has freed Wiggler of a wretched curse. Our Dino Pal is now also halfway through his journey, but lo, a lakeside crossing appears before him. Taking over Stage 5 for Elias are Froggy and Clawdaddy. Froggy, otherwise known as the Frog Pirate, oh that sounds really silly, are frogs that like to chill out and relax on lakesides. They may not seem all that imposing at first, but they've got tongues twice the length of Yoshi's own, and have jumps to match. If they see Yoshi coming, they'll use their tongues to grab Baby Mario from a long distance, then hop away like total assholes. Yoshi has also had the unfortunate honor to have been swallowed whole by a frog prince, who was the mid-boss of World 3 in Yoshi's Island. Yoshi had to use Shy Guys that were also being digested as ammunition to force his way out, and I bet that wasn't anything pleasant. Clawdaddy is a rather resilient crab creature that Yoshi encounters from time to time. Like pretty much every crab, they'll just move back and forth on their own accord. but if they see Yoshi, they'll go right for him, attacking him with their enlarging claws. They normally require 3 eggs to kill, making them a rather tough customer, barring the use of items or other enemies as ammunition, of course. Tetris Attack was actually recursively imported back to Japan after its initial conception, simply named Yoshi's Panapon. This was the title for the Game Boy entry in Japan as well. Paneled Upon itself was also re-released in 1998 for the Bandai Satellaview peripheral, though I don't know exactly what's so different about that one compared to the original. At least at the very end of the day, Paneled Upon is available in the Japanese Virtual Console. Tetris Attack wasn't so lucky to get its own release on international virtual consoles. Come on, that chain should definitely finish him off. You got him, Yosh. Attaboy, Yoshi. Maybe you should just stick to the pond, Froggy. Wonderful! Elias is back on the side of good! Quickly now, Lip, hurry up and dry yourself off. I hope you're rather fired up for our next location. Defending Stage 6's honor is Flare, the Fairy of Fire. Flare has plenty of energy. She's pretty easygoing whenever she's in a good mood, but you'd better make tracks if she's in a bad one, or everything might just literally blow up in your face. In the GameCube version, she has a daughter named Rhea. I'm gonna say this straight up, I love Flare's theme. Easily one of my favorite tracks in the game. It's slick, it's upbeat, and it's got that sweet-ass guitar at some parts. The theme itself is also quite long. Odds are good, unless you're playing a really good match, you'll never hear the whole thing. Unless you're playing like line clear mode or something. Good thing this match will showcase it! Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, being a Game Boy Color game, didn't have a whole lot of modes to play around in. The same rigmarole you'd expect from any other games there on full casting. With the exception of the new Garbage mode, which is kind of like Endless, but garbage blocks constantly rain down on you. It comes with an adjustable scale, of course. What I really liked about Puzzle Challenge, though, was how it kind of modified into the standard versus computer mold that the Game Boy Tetris Attack had employed. As stated earlier, Puzzle Challenge abandoned the power gauge used in the Game Boy Tetris Attack. As such, enemies can use any sort of combos or chains and spam them at you without warning, making for some pretty crazy battles on higher difficulty settings as you whittle down their HP. Hell, the intense difficulty is just that, intense. Enemies consistently put out 7 chains or 10 chains in that mode, pretty much turning it into an out-and-out war as you survive the slugfest the computer is giving you. More on that game's one-player versus computer mode in a bit. I'm gonna shut up for a moment so you can listen to this guitar go. God, I love this theme. Anyway, the last thing about Puzzle Challenges versus computer mode is that you weren't given any extra Pokemon to use. On normal difficulty or higher, you had to perform certain conditions during a match in order to unlock these Pokemon. These challenges could range between beating an opponent in 30 seconds or less, or just performing a specific combo or chain during the match. If you did it right, a trainer will appear after the match and challenge you. If you win, you get their Pokemon. But if you lose or forfeit, you have to perform the condition again in order to rebattle them. As a kid, I thought this was a really cool addition, all things considered. Some of these conditions are really easy to pull off on higher difficulties, but good luck fighting a trainer on that same difficulty. Looks like Lip's finished up here. Hopefully Flare can simmer down for a bit now. Ah, there we are. Froggy is now under control. Great work, Yoshi, but I hope you are ready. Are you prepared to tame the raging flaming beast? It's only fitting that beasts such as Gargantua Blarg and Flamer Guy can take up the mantle that Flare left behind for Stage 6. Get it? Mantle? Because there's lava underneath the Earth's crust and yeah, I'm shutting up now. Gargantua Blarg is a very large lava monster, a souped-up version of the normal Blarg, which are quite frequent in caves. The Gargantua Blarg instead chooses to make its home in castles and fortresses. Its appearance is rather unsightly, and they'll chase Yoshi at a moment's notice. They can never be killed though, only repelled by whatever Yoshi throws at them. The Gargantua Blarg also has an aquatic, much lesser-known cousin known as the submarine Nuts. No one ever seems to remember that the Nuts exists, even though it was on the damn cover of Yoshi's Island. Oh well, I suppose it's second nature when you're a sea monster as opposed to a lava monster. Oh well, at least Gargantua Blarg makes it loud and clear that you shouldn't fuck with this guy. Run in fear in all of his fiery splendor. Assisting Gargantua Blarg is Flamer Guy, a shy guy perpetually on fire. They run around constantly, trying to run themselves into Yoshi. Yoshi, in turn, can eat them, and as a result can breathe fire. Not much else to say about Flamer Guy other than that. I'm not very familiar with the panel to Pon released on Nintendo Puzzle Collection, but they did add one extra mode, I think replacing the 3D mode that was seen in Pokemon Puzzle League. That, of course, being able to play matches up to 4 players. It comes with all the stuff you'd expect out of 2-player modes, such as Versus, Time Trial, and Line Clear. As far as I'm aware, this version of Panel to Pon is the only entry in the series that lets you play with more than 2 people at a time. I wouldn't be opposed to playing it one of these days. Maybe if I got Dolphin to work I could emulate it. Also, I really like the Gargantua Blarg's cry. I don't know why, it's just cool. Since there's still time left in this match, I suppose I can also talk about the Game Boy Advance entry, Dr. Mario and Puzzle League. It's... all the standard gameplay modes are there. That's good. But that's it. It's just a gameplay game. I mean, yeah, Panel to Pon has always been just a gameplay game, but there's always been themes attached to them. The original game with the fairies, Tetris Attack with all the Yoshi's Island characters, and the Pokemon games with, well, the Pokemon. They all had a consistent theme going. Don't get me wrong, the game is still fine. They even managed to fit the standard battlefield on a Game Boy Advance screen, by trimming it down a little, but it's just hollow. It's just weird not seeing Lip or Yoshi on the screen and hearing their voice clips. It gave some sort of atmosphere. I'm weird, shut up. Looks like Gargantua Blarg's been taken care of. Good. Stew in the lava for a little bit. Excellent! Flare's temperament has been tamed. But now it's time to cool off your raging spirit. Go take a dip under the sea. See how you feel then. Awaiting Lip at the bottom of Stage 7 is... No, sorry, I gotta rant for a little bit. This has always bothered me a little. Why are there 2 water stages? I mean, seriously? I know this is like nitpicking to the nth degree or something, but you really couldn't think of another stage to use for another fairy? You just had to make up another water one? It's not like the devs were grasping. They had Ruby, the Fairy of Jewels! You really couldn't think of something else, like a Fairy of Earth or a Fairy of Lightning? Hell, even take the Fairy of Boxes that I joked about in the last part. Would have been better than another water stage. I'm rambling. Anyway, stage 7 is guarded by Nerys, Fairy of the Sea. Surprise, surprise, she's best friends with Elias. And also like Elias, happens to be an adept singer. She frequently likes to appear singing in the moonlight. I guess it's what appeals to her. Jesus almighty, she's like Elias' twin sister or something. In the GameCube version, she has a daughter named Nathia. As you can probably tell by now, I don't like Nerys. It's just like we're repeating stage 5 all over again. I also find her voice clip kind of irritating. At the very least, Nerys has a good theme. Love that bass. Back on the subject of the Game Boy Advance entry, the version of Puzzle League used in the game is actually sort of an updated version of a downloadable condensed version of the game you could get from Nintendo Puzzle Collection. See, that game has a feature in which you can connect your Game Boy Advance via those special GameCube Game Boy Advance connectors. It even came with one just to demonstrate that one purpose. You basically connected your Game Boy Advance to Nintendo Puzzle Collection. Then you can download a condensed version of any one of the 3 puzzle games represented in the game, allowing you to play it on your GBA until you turn the power off. It was these versions of Dr. Mario and Panel to Pon that the game as a whole was based off of, with a few tweaks here and there. But hey, at least Dr. Mario shows up in his portion. All you get for Puzzle League is the hamster thing that shows up in the GameCube version. This game also allows you to play the game on its side, vertical mode. In it, they changed the size of the field and the blocks as compensation for switching the game onto its side. I don't really know why you would do this, considering you could see the playing field just fine normally, but whatever. Still, just bothering with those little ports of the game and then just combining them into one game with just minor tweaks here and there seems kinda lazy. I mean, would it honestly have killed Nintendo to just come up with a condensed story mode for both games? Then at least they have a theme going. Maybe I'm just really spoiled by playing all of the older games and Dr. Mario 64. Dr. Mario 64 was also really cool for using Wario Land 3 enemies, another game I really love. But I'm rambling on and on right now. This match is friggin' long as hell. Nerys is as stubborn as a mule. She just won't go down. Put her down already, Lip. Ah. Oh well, I'd still probably play the GBA version over Planet Puzzle League. Why's that? Well, let's just say Planet Puzzle League rubs me the wrong way. Not to say that one's a bad game either by any means. Oh no. Hell, in terms of sheer content, Planet Puzzle League probably has the most to offer in any Panel to Pon game. But there's just something about that game that compels me to stay away, as opposed to just pick up and play it. But I'll talk about it later. Nerys can finally get to be all washed up. Jeez, that was a long match. Ah, Yoshi has managed to subdue the raging lava beast. Fantastic news. But now it's time for him to go down and get wet. Hopefully he is not eaten. Taking over Stage 7's position for Nerys are the much more endearing Lunge fish and Flopsy fish. The Lunge fish are big badass fish that live in some huge bodies of water. They poke their eyes out into the surface from time to time, looking for the next unsuspecting victim to become their next meal. If they see Yoshi about, they'll leap out and lunge right at him, hence the name Lunge fish. Yoshi is obviously fish food if he gets eaten by a lunge fish, but he can't kill them, he can only repel them with his eggs. Thankfully, if memory serves correctly, they only appear in one level in the entirety of Yoshi's Island, near the end of World 3. I bet he and Boss Bass like to get together on their downtime, discussing strategies on how to eat unsuspecting heroes. I would like to see that. The Flopsy fish, on the other hand, is a much less imposing fish. Essentially an offshoot of the Cheep Cheep, Flopsy fish does nothing but flop around in lake beds, on occasion jumping out to swim left to right or up and down in a straight line. These fish are so unimposing that they can't even be made into eggs if Yoshi manages to eat one. He just swallows the poor thing whole. I can see it now. Yoshi goes in to eat Flopsy fish, then Lunge fish will just come in and return the favor, eating Yoshi whole. Kinda gruesome. Though I'm still mad that there are still 2 water stages, at least Tetris Attack had the good sense to mix up the assignment here. Instead of having a frog and a crab by the lakeside, we instead have 2 fish swimming in the sea. It's simple and it works. I'll save the Planet Puzzle League talk for the next match when we have more time, so enjoy the rest of this one. So much for the great lunge fish. Looks like this is one meal he'll be staying far, far away from. Nerys has finally swam to shore and seen the light. Great news, Lip! Only one friend remains to be freed. Hopefully she can free this one before she is punished in the name of the moon. Defender of Stage 8 and Lip's last opponent that she must free is Seline, Fairy of the Moon. All it takes is one look at Seline and that's enough to tell you that she's the oldest of the fairies. She's an adaptable ruler and a good leader, but she has a bit of a problem with her pride. Also, she has a really annoying noblewoman laugh. Oi. In the GameCube version, she has a daughter named Sala, who has an equally dignified but much better laugh, by the way. As of this recording, Planet Puzzle League is the latest entry in the Pound to Pon series for the Nintendo DS. It's one of those games you have to turn on its side and play it that way. I've personally never played games that bothered with that, except for like the few times that mandated it in Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, but that's another thing. The game kind of has a theme going, but at the same time it doesn't. There are no characters or anything present, but the atmosphere is entirely different. Instead of the whimsical cartoony style the games have used up to that point, Planet Puzzle League employs a more downplayed, techno feel to the entire game. All of the blocks look different, the sound effects are different, the blocks disappear differently now, and there's a pretty techno look and feel going on in the entirety of the game. Stuff like that. There is a stage in the game that lets you play with the more classic style, but that's about it. Also, stylus controls. Any decent player can get the hang of stylus controls and make the game really easy on them. After having played games in the series that have consistently used the same style, for about a decade, mind you, finally getting to the last game where everything you knew about the game felt totally different, it's, at least to me, I'd call it jarring. Pretty jarring. I mean, sure, it takes getting used to, and it does work, but it just doesn't feel the same to me. It's not the same kind of game that I grew up with. Because of that, I just ended up glossing over it. Still, don't let my opinion of the game be the one that stops you from playing it yourself. There's still plenty of modes to play in. You've got Endless, you've got Time Trial, you've got Line Clear, you've got Versus Computer, Puzzle Mode, Garbage Mode, some odd kind of Challenge Mode, wireless, and even Wi-Fi competitive capabilities. The Garbage Mode even employs new item blocks into the mix. Like the Gray Exclamation Block, these item panels do different things when you clear them. There's also certain variants of standard modes employed, such as Lift Attack on Time Trial and Missions in Puzzle Mode. There's definitely lots to do. If you're any sort of fan of the games, you should at least give it a once-over. It's just not my cup of tea. Speaking of tea, I wonder how Seline would like her tea. She is something of a high-class fairy. A high-class fairy that just lost. Oh well! At least Lip is done rescuing her friends now. Marvelous work, Lip! You freed all of your friends! Ah yes, those monsters still remain. This will no longer be an easy journey for our fairy friends. The cold confines of Death Mountain awaits them now. Lip has freed her friends, but what about Yoshi? He just has one more battle right at his door. But it will not be an easy one. Both the Raven, nevermore. Buckle down, ladies and gentlemen, this match is the longest one in so far. Yoshi's last friend he must free, and replacing Seline is Raphael the Raven, who is accompanied by Shy Guys. Raphael is a rather rotund and resourceful raven, consistently seen standing on little moons and walking all around and over them. Literally. But they don't really do anything, instead being rather content just walking around their little moon doing absolutely nothing. Just kind of getting in Yoshi's way is all they can really muster. These traits apply to all the Ravens, but Raphael is in actuality their leader. Raphael is actually the 5th world boss of Yoshi's Island, and does battle with him on his own little planet. Yoshi cannot damage Raphael himself, so he has to ground pound the pillars he's standing underneath on in order to do damage to him that way. But as it turns out, this little method actually provokes Raphael in turning red, and when he does, he starts shaking the planet, causing sparks to fly. Since his Yoshi's Island days, Raphael and his band of ravens managed to stay chill and hidden in the tropical Lava Lava Island, seen in Paper Mario. There, Raphael and the ravens actually assist Mario in helping him get inside Mount Lava Lava, in order to rescue one of the star spirits trapped inside. Shy Guys are the always ever colorful and playful, but still meek hooded little guys that hide their face behind a mask. Originally a subcon entity, Shy Guys didn't really start getting any notoriety until Yoshi's Island came along. They pretty much populated the entirety of the island, and came with several different colors and various different abilities. In Yoshi's Island alone, there was your standard Shy Guy, head propeller mounted Fly Guys, standing tall Stilt Guys, the undead collaborative Boo Guys, the tribal and primitive Spear Guys, and their loud dancing counterparts, the life-giving Whirly Fly Guy, the balls-to-the-wall Mace Guy, the flower-loving Mufti Guys, the big McLarge Huge Fat Guys, the always flaming Flamer Guys, and the roundhouse-kicking fireball-throwing Zeus Guy. And that's just Yoshi's Island. Paper Mario threw even more to the plate once they had their own toy box to play around in. Since then, this subcon resident has been here to stay. True to their name, hardly anyone has ever seen what they look like with their mask off. The only person who's actually ever seen Shy Guy unmasked is Luigi, after some clumsy accident in some Mario Tennis ceremony, and he was generally spooked when he saw the unmasked Shy Guy. Until the Shy Guy decides to come clean with their face, that mask is there to stay too. Planet Puzzle League also has a condensed adaptation available for it, downloadable on Nintendo DSiWare. It's called Puzzle League Express in America, and a little bit of Puzzle League in Europe. In this condensed version, there are only 4 single-player modes available: Endless, Line Clear, Time Attack, and Versus Computer. Truthfully, if you're just looking for a single-player experience, that's all you need. You got all of the standard modes right there waiting for you to play, so just play it. But if you're looking to try out those extra single-player modes, or looking for a multiplayer or online fix, or just want the full experience, period, then just get Planet Puzzle League. It even has like a hint system or something in-game that helps you create combos and chains. Just for kicks, I guess. Dear God, are they still going at it? One of you crack already, jeez! See, look at how fast those blocks rise now. That stuff's maddening. Well, crazy. Yes, please, Yoshi, more like that so you can finish them off already. Do you see what I mean when these matches suddenly get tense once time goes on? You have to be able to keep up or you're through. Finally! Thank you! Jeez! Bother us, Raven, nevermore. Astounding! The teams have all assembled! Wonderful work, Yoshi! Yes, it is now time to take the fight to Bowser and his cronies. The Cave of Wickedness awaits. Until next time, my friends.